Good evening. It is Iron Carr. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. There have been many changes going on constantly all over the place. They have been, some of them are expected because they are seasonal changes. Or the seasons in this northern hemisphere, in this area, do change, and the weather becomes colder and cooler. The nights are colder. And so there's a tremendous difference between the weather today and the weather that you experienced just 2 weeks ago. It is much cooler. And hopefully you're enjoying that change when it comes to you, even though some of you may not like the colder weather and will regret the passage of summer. But we are soon to enter into the official fall season, which I believe occurs about the 20th or the 21st of this month. It makes the change into what is officially known as fall. The days now become shorter and the nights longer. And that, of course, is part of the reason for your cooling temperatures. But there have been other changes that are going on, and changes that will continue to come forth. In California, Oregon, Washington, all the forest fires are bringing about great change. And it is not easy for those who have been hurt and lost property to these fires. It is also, while it may be a normal act of nature to burn off the overgrowth of dead vegetation that occurs, it is also difficult for all the animals. And while it renews the land because of the ashes, it is a difficult process, which is something to remember when you are asking for change in your life. Change does not always come easily. It is not always accepted easily. There can be great emotional reactions to change in your life. It does not matter whether the change is for the better, by your opinion, or whether the change is for the worse, by your opinion. And you notice I always have prefaced that or added by your opinion, because it is your judgment which determines on whether the changes are good or bad. One of the words I wish to remind you at this time concerning change is that when you perceive a door is closing behind you, there will be a door that will be opening for you, which will bring you new and fresh situations, many of them much better than you had before. While you may regret the ending of what has happened, and not necessarily welcome the new beginnings, still it is that over time you will become comfortable with those changes and they will become normal in your life. And your willingness to accept changes will determine the amount of happiness or unhappiness you experience over these changes. If you are willing to accept them, the transitions will be as easy as can possibly be. You will be open to having new schedules, finding new things to do with your life, or just working on different things because now opportunity affords that to you, or you need to change because working on other things that you have done in the past are now not available to yourself due to your changes. It is truly important for you to be open to changes, no matter how difficult they may be. If you can embrace them with optimism, knowing that they are bringing into your life something else which is going to be valuable for yourself, that you will begin to perceive as new and beautiful. Even if at the moment what you are leaving behind you may regret, and may feel that you have been harmed by its loss, so it is that the new changes that are coming will be equally gratifying and helpful to yourself over time, or they will help you to grow. It is one of the wonderful euphemisms to say that you are going to have opportunities for growth. While these opportunities are wonderful and do bring about your growth, for they make you learn new things. They make you learn to react in different ways. They bring about great benefit for yourself in the long run because you understand something new and your knowledge base has now increased and you can look at things in different ways. But this is not always easy for you. Opportunities for growth are often very difficult. It is mostly important that you remain optimistic with the vision that this too shall pass, for it surely shall be over in some day when you have learned what it is you needed to learn, when you have acquired a new skill or whatever it is that was necessary for this opportunity to have been attracted to yourselves. And so, as these changes over the next few weeks become more apparent to yourself, please welcome them into your life and know that they will benefit you immensely. And by doing so, you will make the transition and the change easier for yourself. Are there any questions on what I have said or any questions you would like answered?
Well, based on what you're saying, is this an end to an era of a particular time period? Because you're implying, I mean, there's always change in the fall, obviously, but it seems that you're implying that everyone will be going through a bit of a transformational change.
Yes, it is part of, you might say, the astrology for the next couple of months, just the actions where the planets are, the energies that will be being beamed toward the whole planet of the Earth, and each person will react to them in their own personal way. But each of you will be re-examining your lives in some way or another, some aspect of your life. You will be possibly looking at your employment. You may possibly be looking at your personal relationships. There are many places that this will manifest in your life, and it will be up to you to allow it and to adjust to these changes. For you will look at things differently. Whether you wish to or not, you will see things from a different angle, for you are moved by the energies of the changing of the planets, and they will be manifesting in your life also. Are there other questions?
I just have a question about the several states and the forest fires that you were discussing.
Yes.
Although it is a renewal of nature, isn't it sort of unprecedented, the severity and the quantity of these forest fires at this time of the year? And even in the last several years, perhaps?
Well, I am not certain that they have anything to do with this time of the year. In the summer months, there are the very hot winds, which seem to predispose those areas on the western fronts to forest fires. Some of the problem has been with decisions that have been made in the past concerning forestry itself. It has become the fashion, if you will, to say, leave nature as it is and let it be. And that is fine when it was only nature, but now you inhabit these areas. And you have strung electrical wires through these areas. And these electrical wires sometimes throw off sparks. Why? I cannot tell you, because maybe they're old, or perhaps there is more power going through them. Or some of these areas have been having difficulty with their electricity. Certainly there are thunderstorms with lightning which set off these things. And when there is plenty of dry tinder because no one has cleared the forest floor, it just gives opportunities for great burning. And when these areas were empty, it did not particularly matter, except to the animals living there, that there was a forest fire, and they needed to take shelter to escape the fire or perish. But this was simply the law of Mother Nature. But now there are humans in the middle of all this, human beings, you and me, and you have your structures and your dwelling places. And so when the fire does what it would naturally do, eliminate all the underbrush, it also takes away your homes and it takes away your businesses. It unfortunately kills as many people as it kills animals. Well, maybe not quite as many people as it kills animals, but it wreaks havoc on the populations that live there, causing injury, pain, suffering, because people, of course, cherish their belongings and their houses. And when these are all destroyed through nature, then so it is that there is pain and suffering. Now, is this more so in this year? It appears to be that there are more forest fires. This may not be the result of anything in particular, in the sense of a man-made situation. It is nature-made. Man cannot even control these things in many times, in many ways. A lightning strike is a lightning strike. If someone sets a fire, that's a whole different situation. And they have caused destruction through either carelessness or a deliberation to see fires. Or some people are fascinated by fires and have been known to set them deliberately for the sheer purpose of watching the fire. While that is unimaginable to many people, that you would want to destroy something just to watch a fire. Why can't you watch something that is small and contained, such as a fire in a fireplace or a fire pit, one that is carefully watched over so that nothing else occurs? You have not had an excess of hurricanes of recent years. It is no worse than it is. There have always been seasons of great hurricanes. Now, you see, that is part of the problem. You assume that a certain number of years in your life constitute what is normal. And I will say it is normal for you, for that is what you have experienced. But it is certainly not normal for the planet to be limited to only the span of years you are considering as normal. The planet has experienced much wider variety of weather over the time than any of you on the show, who are attending this session, have experienced in your life. For the planet has lived through millions of years of changes. And you know this. Your scientists discover the remnants and what is left below the surface when certain things happen, either forest fires or ice ages or water that covered places on the earth which no longer are covered by water, where there even may be mountains. Some of the mountains were once under oceans, where they see sea animals. They find sea animal fossils at great heights in many places. That is because the planet is changing, and it has its own schedule, so to speak, of changes. Some of them are triggered by the sun. Most of them are triggered by the sun or other natural events. People do not quite have the power others attribute to them. If you did, you certainly would not create a forest fire. But it is your carelessness, perhaps, or your hubris at deciding what is best for the planet. and what you think is right. You cannot stop it. You cannot create it. As hard as you try and the obstacles that you put up, the dams that you make, you can do many things, but nature is much larger than the human race. Are there any other questions?
Ronka,
Yes.
Agnes, you were talking about the great changes that are coming. Does this include the political changes?
These are changes great and small. For little changes can be just as confronting as big changes, depending upon the person who is going through the change. So therefore, what you are asking me, I am not certain I can understand your question, for there are simply changes. Some of these are changes in attitudes and things that have been going on. And I addressed last week some of the political changes that are going on, that they are difficult for many people. There are efforts to make changes in your government. And so you are seeing actions of groups of people who have some different philosophies or understandings that perhaps do not value your free enterprise and freedom-loving society. They perhaps want things to be more equal. And so they are agitating to make everything more equal. They assume that will bring about a happier society when everyone has the same thing. You need only to look at China, where everyone dresses the same. That would be an interesting experiment among a lot of teenagers today. They would not be happy if they had to dress exactly as everyone else. Look at the average school with uniforms. Most of the children do not particularly like their uniforms and are only too happy to get into the clothes that identify themselves as who they are. So there are people who want everyone to conform to their idea of what is good and right and how you should behave. And then there are others who have different ideas of what is good and right and how you should behave. And it is an interesting phenomena to watch that these different factions do not consider the fact that the others may be just as right as they are. They presume my way is best. Everyone is thinking that. And so that does make for conflict. But that is one of the reasons why the society in which you live was a beneficial one, because it did not limit your expression of yourself. You could do what you wanted as long as you did not hurt others. And so you had the freedom to work hard or the freedom to relax and not work so hard. All was up to you. So do you wish to re-ask that question, Agnes?
Yes. So the results of the election are going to be not positive for us? So that we have to adapt?
It is going to be very difficult for it to be positive for everyone, because obviously there are many who want to have changes. They do not like this president. They believe there are different changes. There are different ways to go. Will they behave well after the election if they lose the election? I think not. They are determined to have their way. They are the 2-year-old who is stamping his feet and crying loudly that his way, I want this, I want this. And it may not work for a 20-year-old parent or a senior parent who is much older, but the 2-year-old does not care. He wants what he wants, and he is going to misbehave. It is just the way of some some aspects of growing up and man are. So no matter what the election is, there are going to be very many unhappy people because this has been a time of large disagreement. I do not know how else to express it, because there has been active actions taken to divide the people of this country very much. And so this has happened racially as well as religiously in some areas, not as much on the religious front, but there was far more unity in this country. About 15 years ago, people were happier together. They were more tolerant of one another. And these days, I see that there is great animosity between many people, not peace and harmony. If everyone strives for peace and harmony, that would be best. For if you create peace in your life and do not make undue demands upon others to be like you, so it is that peace will be achieved. People will find their own ways to create peace and happiness in their life.
Okay, I think I'm encouraged by your answer from what I could deduct. So I'm going to leave it at that and take it as a positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do. Are there other questions?
Ronco, I want to jump in here and thank
Yes,
you.
Robin.
You're always on point, no matter as often as I'm able to be here. I'm going through my own little microcosm of change right now.
Yes.
I took on a second job, and the two are conflicted in the hours that I have to work for both jobs. I thought my original company that I've been working for 4 years would understand, considering that they're the ones that told me to seek out another job, a part-time job, because with the merger of our company, a lot changed. And then now that manager is wielding over my head, demands and whatnot that really makes it very stressful with the new company that I also took on. And so I'm wrestling with this. One hand, I make more money where I'm originally at. It's less physically demanding in some ways, but not mentally challenging. I love what I do, and I think I'll be able to love as much in the new place. And you're right, you go in with an attitude and things go the way you expect them to be. And I have very positive attitude. Matter of fact, today I was with trepidation to work some of the power equipment, the forklifts and whatnot, that's, that I've always seen on the floor, on the sales floor. And I got it signed off and passed the test and all that. And but it's part-time. I have a full-time job, and I'm being pressured to move to part-time for the primary job in order to work both jobs. I would like my cake and eat it too for a change. I like to be able to work both jobs. And I know you said that the attitude is the most important thing, but I'm running against human factors here, in that there's an ego play. My manager, as far as I'm concerned, is very selfish. Selfish in the way that only serves the manager's purpose. The hell with anyone else, and actually bragged to me different scenarios in the past and how that manager manipulated people and events. And so I feel I'm being played with here. And that's adding a lot of stress to me. But if I can chase the money or chase the other things, and I don't know if I had the potential to move upward with the other company, or even if I don't want to move upward, just to have job satisfaction, doing what I love doing, engaging with the public, and that's it. So I just wanted some insights. If you can tap into anything, especially with the first manager, if this person is pushing me out intentionally, that I will not have a future there at all, and then to definitely hang my hat on the new job as much as possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. In this format, of course, I tried not to make definite instructions to yourself, but to encourage you through information and questioning to help you make the decision that you need to make for yourself. And your situation is such that you already know your first manager likes to wield his power in some way, shape, or form. And he may be taking advantage of the situation with you, that after he suggested, well, if you didn't like it, you could get yourself a second job. For I am fairly certain that was the way it was phrased. You were put in a position where you had a desire for something and you approached him about it, and you ended up with the response, well, get yourself a second job, a part-time job. And so you took his advice and you did that. But now he is wielding his power to make it more difficult for you to coordinate the hours that you have to work in the two places. I believe that is a correct interpretation of his actions, is it not?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes. So now you are having the conflicts. And your second job, it is new for yourself. It is only part-time. And you do make some money, but not as much as you would like. And you have no idea whether you will ever be able to go full-time in that job. So you are in a very difficult position at this point in time. Give up your second job and maintain your first one, or give up your first job and hope for the best in the second one. And this is a very difficult decision for you, and I can understand why you would like some advice on that. But it is something that you have to puzzle out. And you can always drop to part-time on the new job, on the old job, excuse me, so that you can contain the two jobs if you wish. This would be like if you were to make that decision, your boss of this first job would be somewhat surprised that you had chosen to do that. It would be a little bit of a slap in the face for him. He will probably then only continue to make it more difficult for you to work the other job by requesting you put in extra hours whenever he wants them unavoidably. Do you understand? Okay, you have your part-time hours. Now he will suddenly be asking you to put in a few extra hours here and there, which of course would conflict with your second job. So this is his likely behavior. So now it is up to you to decide. Do I want to stay in this first job under this particular boss, or do I want to let go of that job and stick with your part-time job and hoping that things will come along with that? Of course, you can always speak to your manager at your part-time job that you know is your second job, and to inquire whether there is any likelihood of your having extra hours and going full-time in that job, and hear what he has to say. And then you will have more information to make a decision for yourself. Or I have helped you acknowledge what you know your boss and your first job will do to you if you decide to drop to part-time. He will continue to make it difficult. And now you will simply have two part-time jobs which still conflict with one another.
Yeah, that's what I've come to the conclusion. It dawned on me earlier that I think the goal was to push me out completely anyway. It's a commission floor now, and the greed factor reigns. And as they're tasked to hit certain, numbers and whatnot, then of course, when we share the floor, that's less revenue in. By the same token, this individual wants to be with family. So I have no idea how that's going to be played out. And, at this point, I really don't care. I got passed over for a promotion, and I had been there much longer. My sales numbers were very strong, and they took someone from the warehouse, that had no sales experience. He sold a little bit, but he didn't sell a lot because he was younger, sharp on the computer, and isn't bad on the floor. Actually, he's good. I have no problem with him for the most part. But that's been a big slap in the face to me. And so you're right. I think the game's being played. I can try to make it work for a temporary thing and say, look, the second company, I think I have a more, a future there, and to move upward and whatnot. But I'm just trying to get into the head, because the other problem that I'm having, the second job, I did talk to the manager. He said that right now things are booming, but later on, my hours could drop to like 20 hours. Right now I'm doing okay. I'm actually making as many hours in my part-time job as my full-time job. But in the same token, if I drop down to 20, I would definitely need to supplement in some regard a second job no matter what. And like you said, there is no answer as to the availability of a full-time job later on. There's a high turnover in retail, and I was told that department particularly had high turnover. Someone even said to me, oh, you just replaced so-and-so. Oh, he's been gone a month. It's taken him over a month to fill the position. Or at least the paperwork and, the corporate and all that, trying to screen people. So they've been going nuts in the department, extremely busy. I'm finally there. I still have to do training. I know I can add value to the store. My first manager claims I add value. Really? The way I've been treated? I don't see how that has played out, that I add value.
Yes, unfortunately, sometimes you may not get the reward you feel you are due. And I do not know how to answer that, except to say that the fact that you add value may not, to that particular boss or supervisor, he may not have an appreciation of that in what it could possibly mean, and it's to the fullest extent possible. Do you understand? Especially as his experience does not, has not given him that type of experience.
Yeah.
And he has not been a manager, has not had responsibilities such as this. And so therefore, it's like being a new parent. Mistakes are made.
Mm-hmm.
And you are in that situation. So it is up to you to make the best possible decision for yourself and move on from there. Because both these situations are temporary. Right. When you are in at the moment and when you make your decision and you make those changes, that is temporary too. It will require more adjustments and more changes. And there will be different opportunities that could come to you. And I think that sometimes being open to an opportunity is beneficial to yourself. So it is up to you to make your decisions, though, on what you are comfortable with. I cannot help you do that.
No, certainly. It's funny. When I made less money before, I was happier than making more money, because now it's more territorial, might be a good word. And just not the greed, the greed factor's there. Not need per se, but I mean, it's nice to make more money and finally you should have been paid all along. But whereas the job, I don't make a lot of money, but whether I make that close and satisfy that customer or not, it's not the strain and stress and whatnot, and that has value in itself. I'm looking for just serving the customer completely.
Satisfaction. You are looking for satisfaction in your work for yourself is your primary reason, if I may sum that up for you from what you are trying to say.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
knowing that about yourself, it should be easier to make the decision which is in your own best interest, at least for the time being.
Right. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Are there other questions?
Ron Carr, this is Elizabeth. I was wondering about the Akashic records and how they affect us in our current life.
Well, the Akashic records are records. So essentially, they are the what has happened at any moment in time across the whole world and universe, for that matter. They do not affect you in your life. Now, because you take certain actions in your life, that is recorded in the current level of the Akashic records. And because you have certain attitudes and have taken these actions, there are, you might think of them as timelines or as strings moving forward from yourself into your future with probability of action. And so you can be aware, or a psychic who claims to read Akashic records and to tell your future from the Akashic records is looking at those probability lines that radiate from yourself. Because of this, in your current moment and your current life, there is going to be a reaction and a result. And because of your current attitudes, it is likely to follow a particular line of action and result. And that is what the psychic is seeing. The further you move into the future, the less accurate Akashic records are, because they are like speculation about what will possibly happen. So you can look into the past. Akashic records are good for looking into the past and seeing situations because it is a recording. And looking into the future, it is what may be, what will probably be. In some cases, it's very easy, very predictable, and especially in a short range prediction. You are likely to see, a psychic is likely to see fairly accurately if they allow themselves to be free of personal prejudice and personality. Don't let their own personalities interfere too much with what they happen to see. You see, I'm assuming when you are asking about the Akashic records, you are wondering about the psychic phenomena, which allows people to give you messages or do readings about your future. And that is what I am trying to express, that these are likely to be less accurate about your future than if you were to look into your past. And the psychic brings her own personality or his own personality and his own personal experience and the way he views the world. He looks out into the Akashic records and he sees whatever he happens to see, and he interprets it with words, thoughts, and ideas that are partially a reflection of his own personality. Now, the better your psychic, they are able to be, I don't know whether to say above the personality that they have, but they are able to detach themselves from their own opinions and ideas and allow themselves to see and perceive more accurately what will be accurate for you. So certain psychics will be more accurate with you than other psychics because of compatibility in perhaps personalities and ways of thinking and perceiving things. They are likely to interpret in such a way that is more beneficial to yourself and comes closer to what is going to manifest. But nothing is written in the future. the Akashic records are mutable in that area because they are, as I have said, timelines, tendrils, things moving out from you based on your ideas, your actions, what you have done, what you are thinking about. And so these things are always changing. An interesting consideration when you are looking at something that may give you. Now, I have made the assumption that you are asking about psychic readings. Perhaps you are not. But a psychic is someone who is standing on a slight rise on a beach and observing the waves incoming into the water. And as they look, there is stuff floating in the water. There is milk cartons and jellyfish and pieces of clothing and seaweed and things like that. And they may be in view or they may disappear from view because the waves bring certain things to the surface and let other things be invisible behind the waves. And the next wave may bring that to the surface so it can be seen. A psychic can only see what they see from their moment in time and what they are doing. And so when it comes to accuracy and predictions and giving psychic readings, it is partially recognized that it is from that point in time and from the psychic's point of view. And they will give you the best that they can do from that point in time and their point of view. Is that helpful? Was that what you were looking for?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Are there other questions?
I have a question. My name is Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hi. I've watched on TV episodes about UFOs and other life elsewhere. Does that fit in anywhere? Or how does it fit in, if it does, with religion and God and any?
So you are asking me, I believe, that how do UFOs fit in with religion and God? Is that your main question?
Yes.
And all right. How does anything fit in with religion and God? Some religions may have beliefs concerning the possibility of UFOs and life on other planets, but I think most religions do not address those issues. When it comes to God, now that is a different issue. God is the creator. He brought forth everything that exists. And there was only one thing that he could use to make everything that exists, and that was basically the substance of his own being, his ideas, his energy. Everything was made in this way and came into being from that one source. He has created many things, and I am certain, and I know that there are intelligent races of peoples on other planets and other universes, for his creation is vast beyond all words. And when it comes to things like UFOs, it is possible that what has been observed has natural phenomena to it. It is possible that it does not. That some of things may be made here on Earth. They could be other kinds of phenomena. Remember, there is much phenomena in the world. And what you see and you experience in the world is not necessarily an accurate reflection of what someone else would see and experience in the world. Because everything that you sense, in other words, that you see, that you hear, that you smell, that you can feel, everything that you sense is filtered, comes to you through your brain. And everyone's brain has been shaped differently by the experiences of their growing up, coming into the world as an infant, what they experienced, what they heard, and believe me, and try to understand. Although infants do not have words and cannot understand what is being said, it is heard. At some point in time, that subconscious mind of theirs does have the words, and the words take on meaning. And so things that an infant hears, even when it is too immature in its physical body to think for itself, and is still trying to connect, because every thought, every experience is retained by the subconscious mind. At some point in time, that subconscious mind gives those experiences meaning. And those meanings are there in your mind. They are there in your conscious mind. They are there in your subconscious mind. And your senses bring in everything that they experience into your mind. Now, your mind is finite. It can only process and examine so much information at one time, and the senses bring in far more than it can process at one time. So usually the mind concentrates on one or two senses or experiences. And so that you interpret or you see the world in those areas, because your mind has decided to focus upon whatever you focus upon. If you have a sensitive nose, it may be what you are smelling. If you have no eyesight, and maybe what you are hearing. So it doesn't matter what it is, but your brain is always filtering and judging and assembling the information that your senses bring to it. And it chugs away and it thinks and thinks and thinks. So the experiences of UFOs, while some of these may be extraterrestrial in their phenomena and what brought it forth, know that there are many kinds of phenomena. That means unexplained experiences, things that go on. And the ability of someone to connect with their psychic experiences is one kind of phenomena. A different kind of phenomena may be similar to the medium here, who allows her body to be used by me. And that is a phenomena. Are you seeing me? No, you are not. Are you hearing me? Well, in a sense you are, but it is the voice of the medium that I am manipulating and controlling, and I am using the vocabulary in her head to speak to you. Because in spirit, I do not need vocabulary. There is only thought. And the thought is instantaneously expressed to whomever wishes to understand it and know it, or to whom you wish to understand or know. And so it is totally different than what you experience in the physical world. So what I am trying to imply when I am speaking of phenomena and those experiences which cannot be understood or interpreted, or can be easily misinterpreted, there are people who look at clues, put things together, and come to different conclusions. They both hear the same, people can hear the same sets of clues, the same amount of information, and simply come to different conclusions because their brains work differently. And so it is hard to say whether UFOs, extraterrestrial phenomena, is a true experience, or it is something that someone has observed and cannot understand where it is coming from or why, simply because they have not experienced it before. And so they are making judgments. And that is not for me to say that there is no extraterrestrial beings, that this planet has not been visited by extraterrestrials. It probably has at some time, and simply because there are inhabited planets. And some of these are spacefaring. Many of them cannot travel through the universes because the distances between universes are great. And the life on these planets may be so alien as to be incomprehensible to yourself. And people can dream and people can imagine. So what is experienced, what is remembered may or may not be accurate, but it is interesting nonetheless. And so feel free to watch these things and to listen and make your own determination whether you feel this has been a true visitation, or whether it was perhaps some sort of other phenomena that has happened. There are certainly people who have claimed and believe that they have had interactions with extraterrestrials, being brought up to spaceships, that sort of a thing. And you cannot judge these things one way or another. In my opinion, you should simply say, it is interesting. And it has no effect upon religion, for religion is a codified way of looking at the world for the purpose of instructing people in what the religion believes is proper behavior and actions. And so each one fosters or tries to foster within its inherence a certain ethical actions and beliefs that unite them in their together for a common purpose, which is usually intended to be their highest and best good. Some religions, occasionally people choose to interpret the words that have been said to justify actions which the religion itself truly does not wish to justify. But they will say, this is what my religion teaches, and I use it in this way. So it will be up to you, Doug, to decide what you will accept and what you will not accept in truth. And when it comes to religion, you can choose to follow a particular religion because you may find it that it is helpful for yourself to have codified actions and to think in certain ways and to have companionship among people who think the same. You may choose to reject most of the religions and seek out information on your own, which is, of course, what this institute that is sponsoring this event tries to do, to help you to find your own pathway to the God that created everything that is, so that you are contented, happy, self-fulfilled in your life. And they seek to inspire, uplift, and help you to be that type of a person that is successful, happy in every way. I hope that is cleared up. Without clearing up, I am sure, but
Thank you.
there is no firm connection between UFOs, religion, and God.
Mhm.
They simply are aspects of the phenomena that you perceive in every day, from which you create the world in which you live.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions?
Because we are children of God from one source, we are like magical. We create magic.
Yes.
This is like illusion and magic, and everything what is around us, this is creation us from us.
That's right. You create the world in which you live by choosing what you think about and the actions that you take and how you judge the things that are happening around you. You are creating the world in which you live, and no one else lives in that world with you. Everyone is in their own little world, and that is the function of the ego, to create your own little world and keep you intact and separate you from others. And it is up to you to reach out, to try to understand others and to see their worlds. and perhaps join with them in their world, or have them join you in your world, but be together in harmony, even though you are in different worlds. Are there other questions?
Yes, Ronka.
Yes.
Talking about the news and going far out, we saw ghosts in Gettysburg on the news.
Oh, were they managing to photograph ghosts? That
They
has been
did.
done.
They did, and they showed us on TV. Any thoughts on that? Because I thought that was very interesting. It looked very real to me.
Well, assuming that they were genuine photographs that had not been deliberately doctored to create images on them, it is possible for spirit to be photographed in that way and seen. Spirits can even materialize. That is why when we are speaking about phenomena, as I was with Doug, that I say that there is phenomena that can be seen. They can be materializations of spirits. They can be seen. They can energetically project an image on a photographic plate, even though they are not physically there, cannot physically be seen. They can sometimes be captured on a photographic plate because they are an energy. And what is the photograph? What is the film accepting? But an energy. It is accepting an image that has been placed in front of it from light. And the energy of light, as you well know, is a spectrum in which you can see, and other wavelengths which you cannot see with your eyes. And so spirit, using whatever wavelength it has available, may not be visible, but may be able to impress upon the photographic plate the image it wishes to portray.
So we didn't see, like them like ghosts. We saw it was actually a video and they were moving. So if I was to go to Gettysburg and I took my video camera, would I be able to, you think, capture this? Like, it was very amazing to watch.
Yes, well, sometimes it requires for the individual to be a medium. That is someone who generates the energy within themselves, or has the energy and the capability of being aware or seeing spirit. And some people do bring them out in photographs. This is a known phenomena that happens, that when they take pictures, they manage to take pictures of scenes that are not there, but are scenes that are either far away, somewhere else, or maybe scenes in the past.
That's what it looked like. That's an interesting.
But it would be dependent upon whether you are capable as a medium to somehow attract. I do not understand how that is done, cannot explain it to you. I just know that that there are people who can easily photograph spirit.
Okay, thank you.
There are a lot of spirits still in Gettysburg, left from the battle.
I do not know how to answer that question properly. I do not know if they are ghosts that are bound to the land, so to speak, in the area in which they died, or whether they are still somewhat involved in the area, or whether they are leftover vibrations. Do you understand what I mean by that?
No.
There was great emotional energy going on during these battles and what was happening in that area. A lot of fear, a lot of anger, many things happening all at once emotionally. Now, emotions can leave a vibration much longer in the space in which they were experienced than the people. The people can leave and their vibration of anger or fear would still be there. And others may even feel it and sense it without realizing it. This is also known, so that in some place such as Gettysburg, that emotional imprint from the experience of all the soldiers fighting and dying, being wounded, the pain, the suffering, the fear, as I have said, all these attitudes can hang around, so to speak, the emotional residue is the best word, emotional residue of that great battle, which lasted many days, took place in many places, but there were countless numbers of men who died.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions?
Yeah, Ronka, this is Mahesh.
Mahesh,
Can I ask a question about my health?
about your health.
Yes,
Well,
please.
yes, you may ask it. Do you want
I
to?
have a pain, lower back pain, when I sit upright for a long time, or when I bend forward, or when I weight a little lift, when I lift a little bit of weight, I get the pain in my lower back.
In your back.
Yes, yeah, lower back.
So sitting still. Yes.
Is
Continue.
it arthritis? Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I'm waiting for you to continue.
Is it arthritis pain or something more than that?
Well, it may be arthritis pain. I do not believe it is a serious condition, although I am asked not to try to diagnose conditions over this situation, for it is always best for you to see your doctor over that situation. But I believe if you see your physician and you take the tests, you will find that there has been some minor deterioration in the area, and which may improve through physical therapy, which will make your back muscles stronger. So therefore, keep your back in the position where it does not shift slightly and cause the pain. Do you understand?
Yes.
And so when you sit too long or you do too much bending, you will probably find that they can give you either something to help if your back is spasming, either to stop the spasms, or they will recommend some physical therapy to increase your muscle strength, which will hold your spine properly in place, eliminating the pain. But it is really important for you to visit your physician and seek out the reason for the pain so that you can get proper treatment.
Sure, thank you very much. Only thing I wanted to avoid the visit to the doctor's office because of this pandemic. I just wanted to avoid the visit.
Yes, but I understand that, but that is what would be most helpful for you.
Sure.
Even, I was going to say there may be some strengthening exercises, positions that you can do, but it would be best you would need the guidance of someone who is familiar with these things. You may also see those that manipulate the spine called a chiropractor, but that is still a physician, and I would recommend that you seek out perhaps the chiropractor if you do not wish to see an allopathic physician, one who prescribes medicines.
Sure, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Are there other questions?
I was wondering about what you were talking about with the UFOs, so to speak, but not so much the UFOs, but people. There's been many people who have claimed that they've been taken from the earth and taken to alien ships. Is this, if there's a lot of people, so are they all imagining this, or is this a possibility?
Well, most of them do not come back physically changed. And some of them claim to have undergone experiments in these things, but yet they were either returned fully intact so that there was nothing that could be found. And some of these situations may be like dreams, which they have experienced. Now, I know that at times there have been more than one person experiencing the same type of situation. I cannot judge how that comes to be, on whether these are real situations that they experience or imagined situations that they experienced or things that they dreamed. However, they feel they are very real, and I think it just should be listened to with interest. Because what are you going to do? What process? What are they looking for? You can accept what they have to say, thank them, and find it very interesting. I would say do not contradict them in what their belief is, because if it is something they have experienced that is real, you will not be able for them to go with it, so to speak. They will always maintain it. And if it is not real and they believe it is real, it is the same result. So listen to what they have to say. Thank them for the information. And do not make a judgment as to their character or their way of being, but listen to what they have to say. If it makes sense to you, you can embrace it, believe it, and keep it to yourself. If it doesn't make sense, then you just let it go. So that is my suggestion.
Some people that have experienced these things, it was a reality, and others maybe are just dreaming.
It is hard to tell.
Okay.
But how they are abducted, how they are brought up to the spaceship, these things in your science have not yet been discovered. Not that they may not be discovered, but at this point in time, you do not have the science to know it or understand it. And so you can enjoy it.
Watch Star Trek.
And you can make your own judgments if you wish. But I simply do not think you should try to judge it, because what you know about science and is still limited. You are learning, meaning the human race is expanding its knowledge and understanding of this creation. And every day and every year, it just expands and you understand how things work. And if you look at all the changes that have come to society, the phenomena that now happens, which is taken for granted, such as your cell phones and such things as that would have been unimaginable, except to a science fiction writer 50 years ago.
Yes.
And so as a result, but now we understand the technology and can change it and do it and create these things. So who is to know? In the future, there may be some way where some person on a distant planet could just focus upon Earth and bring a specimen from Earth directly to their planet. Or they could take in a space drive that didn't, which could move faster than light and therefore move as fast as time, perhaps, that maybe this will be possible too. All those things that you read in science fiction stories may come about someday because you have finally understood things about reality and life that you didn't understand before.
I got that. So actually what you're saying is even though science can't explain it now, that doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's true. It does not mean it's not happening, and it does not mean that these people are not experiencing real situations. But you on the physical earth plane at this point in time cannot prove it one way or another.
Right.
And so you can either seek to understand the technology, get the education, and apply the science, so to speak, or you can simply look at it, observe it, perhaps enjoy it, and move on with your life.
Okay. All right. I had another question with connecting to spirit. We connect to spirit, and I know it. I mean, our mind is not physical, so when we're connecting, it seems to help a lot with our emotional problems or mental problems, things like that, because we can think about it, we can try to fix our attitudes and things like that. But how do we make that, or what word to use? It helps us fix those problems that are mental, but how can we, what more can we do to make it help us in the physical, our physical selves? Because I don't know, the physical seems to be a lot separated from the mind, because the mind is not physical. You know what I mean?
I understand, but your attitudes and the things you think do affect your physical body.
Okay, so how can we, I mean, if we know we have a problem, say we have appendix problem, all right, how could we change our mental attitude or whatever to make the appendix get fixed? Or do we just have to go to the doctor and take it out?
Well, frankly, I would tell you to go see your doctor if you had an appendix problem or you had any other illness that you were aware of, and take whatever physical treatment he could give you for it to help yourself. Now, your attitude and knowing that this is temporary, that you will be healed, and by proclaiming yourself healed and well and happy while you are taking this medications will undoubtedly speed up your healing and result in the desired situation for yourself. If you go to the doctor and he diagnoses you with something and he gives you medication and you say this will never work, well, if you hold that belief tightly, probably the medication will not work as well on you as it might possibly do if you were more cooperative with it. Do you understand what I am saying? So your mental attitude does affect your physical body greatly. When you believe that you are in good health, that is the most important thing. You will feel vibrant. If you do not believe you are in good health, if you're thinking something is wrong with you when you are sick, well, then you are dwelling on symptoms or situations which may or may not reflect an illness unless you are very well of yourself. As doctors, I understand that as when doctors study illnesses, they often believe they have all the symptoms of the illnesses they study simply because they are being brought to their mind and their attention. But all those illnesses are not real, and so they pass. But if you are feeling that something is wrong with you, then do seek out the treatments that you need, and then affirm. If the doctor tells you you are well, then know that you are well and go about your life and try not to dwell upon the discomforts that you are experiencing. One of the problems, though, with an aging body is that these things sometimes do manifest. You know, you get discomforts and there's things that are not working as well, but you are still healthy. And so you just have to deal with what your body is doing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The time, I can, it is getting close to the 9 o'clock hour, and I think it is time for me to say goodnight. And so I give you all my blessings. I hope I've been helpful and in my answers with your questions, and I give you all my blessings. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. See you next week.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Night.
Hi, it's Juana. I remember I'm the last one who says good night, so I hope nobody said good night without saying good night to me. Remember,
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
We give thanks for the information, wisdom, and knowledge we have received in this evening, and we know that we use it well for a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life, and so it is.
And so it is. And so thank you for coming, everyone.
Hey,
Hi, Agnes.
How's your tooth?
There you go.
How's
Thank
your
you.
tooth?
who?
How's your tooth?
My tea.
Not you, not you.
Everybody could put on their video screen. You could see one another if you want to. Then you can see what everybody looks like.
Well, it's nice to see some people. I don't see anybody else.
I know I could see you, Agnes, but my machine doesn't have a camera. I'm on the laptop.
Well, it's nice to not see you, Donna.
Donna.
I have no camera either.
Yes, not everyone has a camera.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Norma Bob.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Bob.
Bye,
Bye.
Julia.
Bye, bye, Ida. Agnes. Say hello for husband.
I will. Bye.
Bye, bye.
As soon as I find my cursor, I'm going to turn this off now. Wait a minute, it's not going right. Am I holding it the wrong way?
Thank you. God bless.
Okay, thank you so much. And yes, where is end? There it is. End meeting for all. Good night.